What is the measure of a man? In today's society, it is quite often the amount of money or power one has that causes us to label someone as successful or great. The ancient craft known as Freemasonry uses something different to measure a man's stature. Freemasonry is the oldest fraternity in existence. It is a worldwide brotherhood of men dedicated to serving God, family, fellow man, and country. Perhaps even more importantly, the Masons are committed to self-improvement, to do things inside of themselves, things that are often at odds with what is viewed as important in today's society. While no living person can truly say when Freemasonry began, the origins most likely date back to the Middle Ages, when guilds of stonemasons were permitted to roam freely throughout Europe. These craftsmen were known as the artists, teachers, mathematicians, and poets of the age, and created majestic cathedrals and stately buildings, many of which still stand today. Eventually, the word free was attached, and these men became known as the Freemasons.
Over the course of years, as the cathedral building in Europe began to wane, our fraternity was faced with a dilemma, that there were not a lot of new working stonemasons coming into what in those days were referred to as guilds. And so the fraternity began to transition itself away from an actual working, quote, union of stonemasons to a social organization that decided they would take in the honorable and good men of the then society into their, quote, fraternity.
Soon, the free and accepted Masons, men who were committed to building temples in the hearts of others, began to spread throughout Europe and the rest of the world. By 1755, there were several lodges in the 13 American colonies. That year, the first Masonic Hall was erected in Philadelphia. Eventually, many of the Masons from these early lodges became known as the founding fathers of the country. After an adjourned meeting, members of St. Andrew's Lodge in Boston, furious over British taxation, organized and carried out what history has since called the Boston Tea Party. Paul Revere, who made his famous ride warning of the advancing British Army, was actually the junior warden of that very same lodge. More than 50 signers of the Declaration of Independence were Masons. George Washington, the father of our country, was elected Grand Master of Virginia, but was unable to accept due to his all-consuming role as Commander-in-Chief of the American Army. When Washington was sworn in as the first president, he did so by laying his hand on a Bible brought from St. John's Lodge of New York. These great Masons were joined by their brethren to create the United States of America.
It's no coincidence that so many successful and well-known men are Master Masons. It's because the opportunity for participation in Masonry builds leaders. I don't think great men are attracted to Masonry. I think good men are attracted to Masonry and get a leg up on being great men because of their participation in our fraternity.
Rhode Island officially became part of the Masonic family in 1749 with the establishment of St. John's Lodge in Newport. 23 years later, Rhode Island Masons took their place in the American story with the sinking of the Gaspee, a British schooner, in 1772. A volunteer force, which included many Masons, boarded and sank the vessel before it had a chance to strike a nearby American ship with its heavy artillery. This event was the first exchange between the American colonies and the British, and it is celebrated to this day with the annual Gaspee Days Parade in Cranston, Rhode Island. A snapshot of this early time in Rhode Island Freemasonry can be seen at Washington Lodge No. 3 in Warren. This building, built in large part from remnants of sunken Revolutionary War vessels, remains the second oldest working lodge in continuous use in North America. Masonry in the Ocean State flourished. There are approximately 30 lodges scattered across the landscape of Rhode Island today. Someone living anywhere in the state would not have to travel far to find a lodge, be it in Westerly, Richmond, Cranston, Providence, Johnston, or any place in between.
And Masonry in this country took on a life of its own outside the lodge, because many of the lodges were founded in towns, villages, what have you, and had local people. And when the widow Smith had a problem with her roof, the Masons went some Saturday morning and fixed it. There wasn't a lot of hullabaloo. There was no back-pounding. There were no congratulations. There was a job to be done. We did it.
To become a Mason, a man must be of lawful age, have a good reputation, and a belief in a deity. The candidate should also be prepared to help others and possess a desire to grow as a human being. It has been said that a man interested in joining the Freemasons has but to ask. One thing that sets Freemasonry apart from other organizations is that the Masons do not openly solicit for membership. It has long been the practice to accept men who have taken the first step and ask to be considered. However, there is nothing in the Constitution that prevents a Mason from encouraging someone who is known to be qualified and of good character to join the fraternity. Becoming a Mason is a serious matter. It is a lifelong commitment to live in a certain way, to put others before oneself, to live with integrity and to trust in God. It is a decision that should not be made lightly and one that a man should not be pushed into.
One of the keystones of our fraternity is living a life that people can look at and say, this is a good man living a good life. And I think that those messages that we intend to give to those who participate in our fraternity are important if they'll carry them into their daily lives.
Once accepted into the Brotherhood, a man undergoes a series of degrees to prepare him for his journey. These lessons are taught by using symbols that actually date back to the original craft. The first degree is the Entered Apprentice, using the 24-inch gauge and common gavel. The candidate is reminded to use his time wisely and to focus on the true course of life. Next, the Fellowcraft degree reinforces the central moral message of Freemasonry by using the square, level, and plumb. Finally, during the Master Mason's degree, a trowel and other symbols are used to allow the candidate to reflect on the end of life and the importance of keeping promises he has made. Once completed, the man is elevated to a Master Mason and becomes eligible to pursue other bodies of Masonry, such as the Shriners, Scottish Rite, and York Rite, each with its own unique set of rewards.
Many times, what a man will find is that he'll have an opportunity to become an officer. It takes 9 years in most lodges to become the master of the lodge. So it's not like some clubs where you get put into the club and 2 years later you're the president because nobody else wants it. There's a process that we go through.
While the belief in God is a requirement for membership, that belief is not exclusive to Christianity, Judaism, or any other mainstream religion. It may surprise some that men from so many different faiths and socioeconomic backgrounds can gather together in such harmony. One of the reasons is that it is strictly forbidden to discuss either religion or politics in any Masonic meeting.
Because we don't want discussions to get heated. And yet, we all hold dear our right to our strong opinions in those subject matters. But they're really best left outside the lodge.
At the center of the fraternity are the three tenets of Freemasonry. Brotherly love is the practice of the Golden Rule. Relief is the charitable work for which the Masons are so well known, and truth, the honesty and adherence to the cardinal virtues. It has been said by many that the Masons are part of a secret society. Masonry does have some secrets that are revealed only to members. However, a man does not keep his membership a secret from anyone. Throughout the world, men from all walks of life are proud to be known as part of the fraternity.
We have 3 words and 3 handshakes that we really can't say to recognize one from another. Other than that, everything is in books in the library. If you wanted to find it, you can go to any bookstore and buy a book on Masonry and get 99.9% of the secrets.
Another misconception is that Freemasonry is for men only. While it is true that only a man can become a Mason, other branches have been established to make it a true family affair. There is the Order of D-Molay for young men, Eastern Star for women, and the Order of Rainbow for girls.
Masonry expands to other groups, wives, daughters, mothers, and these are people who are all eligible to join the Order of the Eastern Star.
We have a lot of family activities such as membership picnics or Masonic picnics that the whole family can attend.
Many Masons actually begin their involvement as young men in the Order of D-Molay.
It really gave me an opportunity to learn how to lead, learn how to speak in public, learn how to get a bit of a leg up on future success. Whatever success, small success I've had in my life, in large part is due to my interaction in the Order of D-Molay. Wonderful organization for honing leadership skills in young men.
Here in Rhode Island, the Masons hold many annual events that are focused on the families of its members. This commitment is so strong that it continues on even after a Mason passes away. A widow of a deceased Mason is affectionately called the Special Lady. As a member of the fraternity, Rhode Island Masons take part in the age-old traditions of the craft. They are constantly striving for self-improvement through ritual and ceremonies designed hundreds of years ago to help bring peace to the soul and harmony with the universe and its creator. Many great men of prominence have credited this with playing an important role in their development and rise in professional stature.
I think that that's one of the principal benefits of participation. Yes, the social life is wonderful. Yes, the charitable works are good, and we continue to do them because they're good things to do. We do them for no other ulterior motive. But the fact that you learn to be a dependable person because you come into lodge, you accept responsibility, and you fulfill that responsibility is something that is good for all men. Even the most responsible leader sometimes needs a little reminder that once you assume a duty, you need to fulfill it.
Aside from the practice of the craft itself, a Mason spends the majority of his time helping others who are in need. An organization of such size and diversity means that a wide variety of resources are available to help mankind. Masonic Charities give nearly $3 million per day in a variety of ways, including the relief of its own members.
We had a father from California who called because his daughter was going to school in Rhode Island, and he was very concerned about the circumstances in which she was living. Drug dealers in the building and that kind of thing. We found the right combination of people. They stepped in, talked to her, took her out of those circumstances, found her better housing, and moved her.
Another example is the Shriners Orthopedic and Burn Centers, which have helped countless people free of charge from around the globe. Right here in Rhode Island, Scottish Rite Masons fund the 32nd Degree Learning Center for children suffering from dyslexia.
There's only one thing to do, he said.
It opens up the world of reading to those young people who might have faced a life of illiteracy. Nearly $250,000 is given out in scholarships each year to Rhode Island students. The Grand Lodge also sponsors the Masonic Child Identification Program, or CHIP.
We asked them about 30 questions to gain their confidence, get some ideas. Amongst the questions, we asked where they would go in case of an emergency, where they would go if they were angry and they wanted to be alone. I've had several people answer that, and the moms say, wow, I didn't even know that place existed. So they have now a place to go look when they can't find their child. We're also doing fingerprints, and as of this January, we started doing DNA and dental prints, all for free.
The materials are then given to the parents so that they would be able to provide immediate information to authorities should a child become lost or endangered. Many here in Rhode Island are striving for the betterment of mankind, giving whatever they have for the sake of giving, regardless of who gets the credit. In fact, most of the good works done by the Masons are not publicized, ensuring that the reasons behind the gifts adhere to the age-old principles of the craft. Many great Masons have impacted the history of the world. Presidents, soldiers, teachers, ministers, and artists. Who will be the next great Mason? The answer might surprise you. Any man who becomes a Freemason and adheres to its principles and teachings is already a great Mason. Any man who decides to join the fraternity will find that the rewards are unique and bountiful. A man does not have to lead the free world or be famous in order to make a difference. Just ask your friends and neighbors. Ask the people learning to overcome dyslexia. Ask the college student who is trying to finance his education. Ask the parent who is doing everything they can to protect their children. Ask the small crippled child or burn victim who have been told that they cannot be helped. The men who are the Freemasons, along with their families, are leading the way for us, setting an example for all of us to follow, doing good deeds for the sake of doing them, with the joy of helping others. God bless the next great Mason.